Valtteri Bottas received some great news when it comes to his future in Formula 1, and being part of Mercedes as a reserve driver could be the greatest thing that happened to him at this point. With reports saying that the team has a plan B ready if things don't go well with Antonelli, could we see a lineup we could only have dreamt about a couple of years ago? Russell and Bottas. And if so, how will the Finn bode against his nemesis, the man who took his seat in 2022? One of the saddest stories in Formula 1's silly season from last year has to be Bottas, and while many were in favour of promoting younger drivers and giving them an opportunity to prove themselves as worthy competitors, it didn't come without its expense. Bottas lost his seat, and as a 10-time race winner, seeing him drive in Sauber was a very painful experience because of the car's performance and the team's mindset. Audi didn't have plans for him, at least not when Binotto took over, and now Bottas needs to settle for the fact that the only role available for him is the reserve driver one, but it might not be for that long. Valtteri has seen an opportunity to return to the sport as early as 2026, and although the biggest hint was Cadillac, who are entering with 2 brand new seats, it's now reported that Bottas could be a full-time driver for Mercedes in the foreseeable future. Of course, every driver is under pressure and there is nothing they can do to avoid it, but Antonelli will be definitely put under a lot of pressure compared to his teammate because he's been hyped up to the levels of Verstappen, and you can't just back away from that. Still, the team needs to be ready for any scenario, and although the reports from a couple of months ago stated that it would be Verstappen, the driver that Mercedes would chase if there was a change in the lineup, Wolff has denied that. Furthermore, there have been reports from one Pablo Montoya who believes that Bottas has a specific reason behind the contract he currently has with Mercedes. As the Colombian driver added, we have Kimi Antonelli on the other side of the coin in the spotlight of one of the best teams with a teammate who is doing a great job. He is being sold as the next Max Verstappen. If he doesn't perform well, it will be difficult. In my opinion, with Bottas, Mercedes would be protecting themselves. He is the safety net to have someone in case it doesn't work out with Antonelli, and he knows that. It's not a secret that Bottas will be praying for the failure of Antonelli, because in this cruel world, you just have to think about yourself and yourself only. We've seen that after 3 years of being out of the sport. Hülkenberg managed to get his fellow compatriot Schumacher out of Haas, and while there were tons of speculation about it, it turned out that it was the greatest decision that the American squad could have made. Wolff is yet to talk about this in person, but he has been quite adamant that the hopes for Antonelli should be brought to the minimum, because if we're to believe that he will compete for race wins from day one in Melbourne, then we're in the wrong. 2025 is going to be a learning curve for Kimi, and of course this goes to show that the team are also careful about the bold choice they've been forced to make after Hamilton's shocking departure. When talking about the expectations for Antonelli regarding 2025, Wolff has subtly hinted that the pressure would be on learning and not performing. As he added, if you expect him to be on pole position in Melbourne, win the race and immediately compete for the championship, then the risk is high, because that won't happen. If we take into account that he is only 18 years old, very talented, but needs to grow and make mistakes first, the risk is less. We see 2025 as a transitional year and want to prepare him for 2026, when everything will start from scratch for everyone. As of now, Kimi has shown that he does have raw speed and talent, and he just needs to polish it to perfection in order to be ahead of Russell, or at least challenge him on a regular basis. The good thing about Mercedes being a mediocre team in 2025, which they expect to be, is the fact that they can compare the drivers in a head-to-head performance, and from 2026, when they are dubbed to be the favourites to win it all thanks to the new regulations, we would see whether it would be Antonelli or Russell who gets away with the more successful campaign. Of course, for one of them to survive the new regulations, they would need to perform extremely well in 2025, and Russell believes that the challenge from Antonelli is not something you could underestimate so easily. Elaborating further on this, the Brit said, "I think I've always believed that you gain a lot over time with experience in terms of how to deal with the race weekend, the tyres, the team, but I don't believe I am faster today on raw pace than when I was 17 years old, and I think you've either got the speed or you don't, and Kimi absolutely has the speed. He has proven that in all of his categories. There will be mistakes on the way, as there were for all of us. Kimi is exceptionally fast, and I've got no doubt that he is going to be really keeping me on my toes next year, and I'm looking forward to a new challenge. 3 years of working with Lewis have been exceptional, but I'm ready to look forward to see what we can do together from next year. Of course, Russell might have sugarcoated his words a bit there, as we know that he is a fierce competitor, and given the pressure that he will also have on his shoulders due to this raw speed of Antonelli, it will be interesting to see how Bottas will fall into the entire picture as a potential full-time replacement for the young Italian driver. Another strong support towards this scenario is the fact that Bottas has now been offered a role as a reserve driver in 2 other teams, the Mercedes, McLaren and Williams. Many have wondered why Mercedes would give up their asset to McLaren, because they will be one of their fiercest rivals, but the fact that they are sharing an engine is an indicator that the data gathered from both teams will be beneficial for the engine development program. Bottas himself stated that he is open to make a return to the sport from 2026 onwards, but not under any circumstances. A 1-year contract is definitely out of the question, because he feels that at his age he needs a commitment to the team he is going to sign with. Addressing the media regarding his future and his stance on being with the team for just one campaign, the 10-time race winner said, "My contract needs to have a meaning, like a random 1-year deal somewhere at this stage of my career is not doing me much. There would need to be a clear plan, and if there wouldn't be, let's say for 2026, then definitely I would need to look elsewhere, or I can still do a good career in other series." The goal is more than clear: remain in Formula 1, and of course the newly arisen opportunity from Mercedes might be something too good to pass along. Paradoxically enough, Bottas' role in Mercedes is going to be helping Antonelli in the accommodation process and making sure that he's up to date with all of the Mercedes pros and cons, and even though the Finn himself hasn't driven a Brackley-based car from 2021 onwards, it wouldn't take a lot to bring himself back to the old roots. Now, Mercedes wants to extend that hand a bit longer and give Bottas a role as a reserve driver in Williams as well. This would not only bring them a lot more data regarding their engine, but it would keep Bottas in a top-notch shape when it comes to his return to the sport. Williams have yet to appoint a reserve driver for the 2025 season, and of course it wouldn't hurt to have a 10-time race winner now that their lineup is consisted of Sainz and Albon. Plus, it wouldn't be the first time that a driver would be shared with multiple teams as a reserve driver. Mick Schumacher was made available to Williams and McLaren apart from his duties in Mercedes, so why not do the same with a man who has a lot more experience winning races and a lot more overall experience in developing and building cars? With all this in mind, do you think that Bottas has a genuine chance of making a return in Formula 1? And more importantly, do you think Antonelli could slack off so hard that Mercedes would think about a mid-season change all of a sudden? Let us know in the comments below, and if you're interested in Tsunoda's bombshell on Red Bull, make sure to check out the video that's appearing on your screen right now.